French toast is a classic for brunch and it's one of the easiest recipes to make. Serve it simple with maple syrup or go more adventurous with banana, berries and bacon. The basic recipe for French toast has always been the same and doesn't really change. It's so simple, just 3 ingredients: bread, eggs and milk. Although saying that, there are a few things you can do differently depending on your tastes. First, we're going to get started on making the eggy mixture that the bread is going to get dipped in. In a medium-sized bowl, crack in 3 free-range eggs. This mixture will be enough to make about 6 to 8 slices, so enough to serve about 3 to 4 people, depending on how hungry you are. Use a whisk to thoroughly beat the eggs together until there is no longer any separation between the yolks and white. If you would like the full recipe for this French toast, it will be on my website as well as the full measurements listed in the description box below. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and check out my other Sunday brunch recipes. So as I said before, the basic recipe for French toast doesn't really change, but there are a few things you can do differently. The first being which type of milk you use. I will usually use regular dairy milk, but you can use low fat milk, a dairy alternative, half and half, or cream. Using a low fat milk will make it a little more on the healthier side, whereas using cream would make it richer and so much more indulgent, which works great as a treat. You'll need 1 cup, so use whichever type you would like or whatever you have on hand. Use a whisk to mix the milk and eggs together until well combined. This part is optional depending on how sweet you like things, but you can add a few teaspoons of sugar. I usually don't, I find maple syrup on top sweet enough, but feel free to add some if you would prefer. Now on to the last ingredient, bread. Choose whichever kind you would like, anything from standard sandwich white bread to sourdough, just whichever kind you have on hand. I'll usually use leftover bread, whichever type that may be, but there is one thing that is incredibly important: make sure it's old. French toast was used years and years ago as a way to revive lost bread, basically old stale bread. Soaking it in milk and eggs adds back that moisture that's been lost. If you do use fresh bread, it tends not to soak up as much of the eggy mixture, and no matter how much you cook it for, it still tends to be soggy in the centre due to too much moisture content in the bread. Although I do have one tip for you if your bread is fresh. Cut it up into slices the night before and leave it sitting out, and because it's had so much contact with the air, it should be a little stale by morning. To make the dipping of the bread so much easier, pour the eggy mixture into a low-sided dish. Heat a heavy base fry pan over medium heat. You can use any type you would prefer, but I always like to use cast iron as it holds the heat amazingly and also creates a perfect crust on the French toast. Take 2 slices of your stale bread and place it into the eggy mixture. After about 10 seconds, turn the slices over and leave them for another 10 seconds. If you have thicker slices, you'll need to leave them for about 15 or 20 seconds so they have a chance to soak up more. Place about half a teaspoon's worth of butter into your pan. Drain the bread so it no longer drips and place it into the pan. Follow with the next piece. You'll need your heat over medium or medium-low. Any higher and you'll burn your toast. French toast is one of my favourite brunch recipes, and it's a perfect way to use up old bread that you might otherwise throw in the bin. Let me know in the comments below what your favourite meal for brunch is. I have quite a few brunch recipes on my channel if you ever do need any inspiration. After about 5 minutes on one side, flip the toast over to the other and leave for another 5 minutes to cook. If you do have thicker slices, they'll need longer. A good way to test if your French toast is cooked is press in the centre. If it bounces back, it means it's cooked through. If it wasn't and was still soggy, the bread will just dip where you pressed. Remove the toast from the pan and repeat with the remaining slices. Serve your French toast topped with your favourite toppings, or keep it simple by drizzling over maple syrup. I would love to see a picture if you do make this recipe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.